guys, this is Wolfpack MMA. How you guys doing? So guys, I'm recording this video to show you the depth of the welterweight division today. So I'm just gonna talk about the greatness of the welterweight division. The best division. No, not the best division, probably. Because I recorded a video previously, a few days ago, where I put lightweight division as number third. And I put welterweight division as number fourth, and I put bantamweight as number one, and I put I put lightweight as number two, and I put featherweight as number three or four, something like this. But I had a couple of divisions above the welterweight division, and that was because I was using different criteria to actually assess the rankings of the division. But I was looking at like the star power, I was looking at the champion, I was looking at the skill level. But if you're just talking about like the depth of the division, I don't think there's any division that is as deep as a welterweight division. There's not a division that has as many prospects as the welterweight division. The amount of fighters that this division had who could potentially be champions surpasses any other divisions. And I can see a lot of potential champions. And this video is not a hate video for Bilal Muhammad. I love Bilal Muhammad. I think he's funny. I think he's actually good on the mic. I think he's actually not a boring fighter. Like the last fight that he had against Leon Edwards, I actually think that was a pretty entertaining fight. I think the way he was taking him down, he was even slamming him down. Like people have like a perception like Leon Edwards is just like a boring fighter. I completely sorry, Bilal Muhammad is a completely boring fighter. I completely disagree with that. And I actually did not like when Joe Rogan did him dirty on the mic. It was pretty funny, but it wasn't when Joe said that security doesn't know he's a champion. And then DC did him bad as well when he said Leon Edwards, the welterweight champion. So Bilal Muhammad, I definitely believe he's a great champion. I think he's a champion who would actually take on any challenger. He's never shied away from any sort of challenge. I think even his path to the championship was quite tough. He had to beat a lot of names. He had to beat guys like Sean Brady and Gilbert Burns and a lot of other good guys. But here, I would say in welterweight division, there's a lot of people who can potentially beat Bilal Muhammad. Again, not a hate video for Bilal Muhammad. I just believe that there are a lot of fighters in welterweight division that are such talented fighters that they, on any given day, anyone can beat anyone. So if you look at the top fighters, like you guys are telling me that Leon Edwards cannot get his title back. I mean, Leon Edwards probably not like for Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad is probably not the best stylistic matchup because Bilal is pretty stacky and is pretty low when he's fighting, covering his head as well. So Leon is more like a head hunter, and Leon is the guy who actually loves to do the counter striking. And for the stackier guys, if you're not going for like the body shots, if you're just doing the head hunting, is quite difficult sometimes with the covering their head. And Leon, he fights pretty tall, so it's easier to get the legs. I think he's pretty lanky guy as well at the same time, although he does have like okay takedown defense. I think he just has to put a lot more pace. He just has to be a lot more aggressive against Bilal Muhammad. In the first fight, he wasn't throwing hands. He needs to throw more, because the thing is Bilal is going to keep coming at you. So if you're not throwing, if you're not giving him much time to think, you're not going to be able to beat him. So I think for Leon Edwards, the key would be to throw more, use a lot more kicks, a lot more leg kicks, throw a lot more punches, go to the body a little bit as well. But for Leon Edwards, it's a tough matchup. But I can see that Leon Edwards definitely has the skills. If you put in the practice, he can kind of do it. But at the same time, I think Bilal's output is such high and his cardio is very good. So it's a difficult fight for Leon. But Leon is a former champion. So there you go. You had a guy who had the championship previously. And then you have Shavkat Rakhmonov, is a guy who I believe is going to beat Bilal Muhammad. I still think Bilal has a chance to beat him, but I think Shavkat is just going to be too much. His spinning kicks are just beautiful, and Shavkat is a pressure fighter. He's not going to be fighting like Leon Edwards, not throwing. Shavkat is actually going to throw punches. He's going to try to meet Bilal in the center. He's going to try to push the pace on Bilal, and when Bilal is trying to do wrestling, Shavkat is going to wrestle back, actually. Is Shavkat as good of a wrestler as Bilal Muhammad? He's definitely not as good of a wrestler. Shavkat doesn't do the best leg takedowns work. He just pulled that out against Ian Gary in the last fight, but normally if you watch all of his fights, Shavkat is not that guy. If you watch his fight against Neil Magny or Wonderboy Thompson or Waston Harris or any of the guys that he fought previously, even Oliveira, he doesn't do the leg takedowns. He's mostly like a body lock sort of guy, which is very tough against Bilal Muhammad, because Bilal Muhammad is like a stacky guy, good base. So you have to kind of go low to actually be able to take him down. But I think Shavkat's takedown defense is going to surprise you guys with it. and he's got very good cardio. Like, he's known for it. So Bilal is not going to be able to overwhelm him, and I think Shavkat is going to be able to mostly be able to keep the fight on the feet, and he's gonna probably more potentially finish Bilal. And one thing I can tell you guys, Shavkat Rakhmonov is one of the best finishers when it comes to the submissions. This guy is one of the best grips. Anytime he gets you in like a headlock or in like a rear naked choke, that's it for you guys. You guys telling me Kamaru Usman doesn't have the chance to get the belt back? Guys, Kamaru Usman is probably one of the guys, one of the only guys in the division who could possibly out wrestle Bilal. Now, we know that Kamaru Usman's got knee problems. He probably doesn't have the same sort of wrestling that he used to have because he doesn't train anymore. He doesn't train wrestling anymore. But I still think Kamaru Usman, because of his high level wrestling background, and also because he trained with the Olympic team, he still has a lot to offer. I think if Kamaru is 100%, he can actually give potential problems to Bilal Muhammad. We saw him against Chimaev, but Chimaev is a completely different beast. And even against Chimaev, Usman was able to defend some of the takedowns. And so I can definitely see. And Usman is a pretty decent striker, actually. And he's got cardio for days. We've seen him going 5 rounds against Colby Covington, very high pace. So we know Usman can go there. You're telling me Jack Della Medellina cannot finish Bilal Muhammad? Like, guys, I'm not going to lie about this. You guys will probably see Jack Della Medellina as like a striker, and you probably believe that it's good. It's a easy matchup for Bilal. That's easy money because Bilal is going to take him down every single time. But that's not true, guys. I think Jack Della might be the hardest fight for Bilal Muhammad, and I know why I'm saying that. Jack Della Medellina is the only guy who can actually do high level boxing. He's the only guy who mixes in the combinations, who can go for the head strikes, and who throws a lot of body punches. If you're looking at the welterweight division, he is the best striker. He's the cleanest striker. Jack Della, I'll tell you, he will go to the body of Bilal. He's not just going to do the head hunting. And then Bilal is probably going to drop his hands, and Jack will throw hooks to the head. One thing I can tell you, Della has a very decent takedown defense. And even if you take him to the ground, he has the ability to actually get back up. His scrambles are amazing. And we know Craig Jones trained in the same camp as Jack Della, and he was saying that Jack has got one of the best submissions. He said he's not mostly impressed by the grappling of the MMA guys, but he was impressed by the grappling of Jack Della. And we saw him against Gilbert Burns, who's a high-level jiu-jitsu guy. Jack didn't get finished by him. Anytime Gilbert was trying to control him, Jack was trying to get up every single time and later finished him. So I definitely see Jack as the hardest fight for Bilal Muhammad in the whole division. Then we have Sean Brady. Even though Sean Brady got finished by Bilal Muhammad because Bilal was putting a lot of pace on him, I think Brady has the style to actually give problems to Bilal Muhammad. They both fight very similar. They both fight short. They both keep their hands closed. They both don't kick a lot. Bilal has added kicks to his game now, so he kicks a lot now. But and they both go for the takedowns. They both like to keep the top control. I think Brady's a little bit better submission artist, but I would say Bilal has probably got better cardio, and Bilal has probably got better striking. So, but I do think Brady as a potential champion, I do think he can become the champion. Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley, because of his explosiveness and because of the wrestling that he's getting better at now, I think he could be a contender for Bilal Muhammad. And I think Joaquin Buckley, for his weight class, he's very strong. It's like we're seeing him against Colby Covington. Every time he was hitting him, he was hurting him. And even prior to that, when he fought Wonder Boy, the way he threw the hook and just completely knocked him out, he's on a 5 to 6 fight winning streak. He's destroying everybody. I see Joaquin Buckley as becoming the champion. I think he could be. The thing is, Buckley is so explosive, and he fights pretty quick as well, and he can actually retain the cardio for a lot of rounds as well. So I definitely see Buckley as being one of the hardest fights. And he's not one of those guys that you can shoot and just out wrestle. We saw him sprawling against Colby Covington. He's also very short, which makes it easier for him to actually defend the takedowns because his base is very low. So for Bilal, I think Buckley would be one of the hardest fights. And then you have Ian Gary. I think Bilal is going to be able to take him down many, many times. But we've seen Ian Gary improving the takedown defense. We've also seen Ian Gary improving his jiu-jitsu. So I think he has a chance to actually stay safe on the ground. Even though you might get taken down by the ground, we know Bilal Muhammad is not a submission specialist. He just puts the pace on you and just tries to wear you down. But he would be at a massive height disadvantage against Ian Gary. Ian Gary is a much taller guy. He's got beautiful kicks. He's got good boxing. I think against Bilal Muhammad, he's actually going to be able to feel free to actually throw the strikes. unlike what he was doing against Shavkat Rakhmonov, because I think there was more submission threat against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Shavkat is like a very good striker himself. I think Gary would have a chance against Bilal. Although I do favor Bilal in this fight. So in all of the previous fights that I mentioned, I favor Bilal against Usman because I think Usman is past his prime, but I think Usman can beat him. I favor Bilal against Leon Edwards, but I think Leon still has a chance. I favor Rakhmonov I think just beats Bilal. Jack Della, I say it's like a 50-50 fight. Both of the guys have the chance to do it, but I think Jack could potentially knock him out. Sean Brady, I'm gonna favor Bilal because Bilal has beaten him. I think Bilal is just a little bit better than Sean Brady, but I still think Sean Brady has a chance. Joaquin Buckley. Buckley is the one where I would say it's 50-50 again, just because of the styles. Just because of the styles, I believe Buckley is gonna be a very hard guy. Ian Gary, I favor Bilal. I think Bilal beats him most of the times, but I think even Ian Gary has a chance. Gilbert Burns is the guy that Bilal has beaten previously. Mm, and Bilal completely dominated him. I think Gilbert has passed his prime, but if it's like a prime Gilbert, he would have a chance. He would have like the Gilbert is one of those guys. He's got good striking, right? Gilbert can knock you out with a punch. I think he just doesn't have the ability to absorb a lot of punishment. Like we've seen Gilbert getting knocked out, and Bilal is a guy who's just so hard to put out. Like you really have to put it on him to actually finish him. And but Gilbert has got beautiful jiu-jitsu. I think Bilal beats him most of the times. And then you have Colby. I think Colby has passed his prime. If Colby was in his prime, that could have been a good fight. But I think Bilal is just much more stackier than him. But we can see the depth in the welterweight division. Like you're going to number 9, and you should have Colby Covington, who has fought for the championship multiple times. This guy is a high level NCAA wrestler who's got like cardio for days. And then Jeff Neal is probably the weakest guy in the division, even though there are 15 guys in the division. But Jeff Neal is a number 15. But I will say this is the guy that Bilal has the perfect style to actually ragdoll him. Like this is the guy that I could say just Bilal just takes him down, and just because Jeff Neal is an easy guy to take down, and he's got lanky look, which favors Bilal. Bilal is good with like the lanky guys. Stephen Thompson, we've seen Bilal just completely dominating Thompson previously with his wrestling, gonna throw the strikes, just overwhelm him. And Thompson is one of those guys who can get overwhelmed. So if you throw a lot of strikes, Thompson does not come back with the same output. But again, Stephen Thompson is such a beautiful striker. We've seen his takedown defense against Tyron Woodley. That was pretty decent. So I still believe Stephen Thompson for number 11. He's a pretty solid guy. I think he's just past his prime. And then we have Michael Morales. I think Michael Morales can beat any guy on his best day. Beautiful striking. So, but I want to see more of him. We haven't seen a lot of him in UFC. And then Carlos Prates, that is the new prospect that you have. I think Carlos Prates has the ability to knock everyone out. I haven't seen his takedown defense on such a high level. So obviously he has to get himself tested against the top 10 guys. Maybe face like he has beaten Jeff Neal, but I think he needs to get tested against the good wrestling guys. He needs to get tested against Colby Covington. Maybe that would be a fight, but I doubt that Colby would actually take that fight. Have a fight against Gilbert Burns. Have a fight against guys like Jacqueline, Joaquin Buckley. So even Prates, I see him as like a potential champion, and he has a lot of energy in him. He's a young guy. I can definitely see him becoming a champion. Just need to see him more. Vicente Luque. Look, even Vicente Luque is not an easy fight. Okay, the guy has been taken a lot of damage. He's been out for a while. He's probably not the guy in his prime now. But Vicente has great striking, and Vicente has one of the nastier jiu-jitsu. His dodge chokes are probably one of the best. You must have seen that in the last fight. He finished the fight within the first round. So this guy could be very dangerous. This guy is a warrior. He doesn't mind getting in a brawl. So I can definitely see him fighting at a very high level. And this is not a video of all the guys against Bilal. We can actually see those guys just beating each other on any given day. On any given day, on a good day, I can see Vicente Luque actually just beating Leon Edwards. I mean, Leon Edwards is a much better fighter than Vicente Luque overall, but I can see him beating Leon Edwards. I can see the world where Vicente Luque is doing striking with Leon Edwards. We've seen Leon Edwards getting hurt by Nate Diaz. I can see him maybe hurting Leon Edwards, or I don't know. Somehow they end up on the ground and Vicente just chokes Leon out. That is a very possible sort of outcome. And Michael Page. So even if you're going to number 15, you can sell this fight. If Bilal Muhammad is fighting Michael Venom Page, look, I think it's an easy fight for Bilal. I think Bilal can just take him down. Venom Page has shown that his takedown defense is not solid. He was taken down by Ian Gary. He was getting controlled by Ian Gary. Ian Gary took his back. He made Ian Gary look like a high-level NCAA wrestler. Okay, this is a guy that he could take down easy. But at the same time, MVP has got one of the best strikings ever. He is the fastest. He is the trickiest. He can knock you out with one punch. Doesn't matter who he is fighting. Like, he could be fighting, I don't know, Hamza Chimaev. Hamza Chimaev would probably ragdoll him. He would still be able to sell the fight. Like, you got MVP on the card. You got MVP on the card against any of the fighters, against any of the champions. He's gonna sell it. It just, people would buy it because people would be like, okay, there is a potential, there is a possibility. So that we're looking at the depth of the welterweight division. At number 15, you have MVP, who's probably one of the best strikers in the whole UFC. And that's what I'm saying. Like, any fighters on any given day in welterweight division, that's the depth of the division, can beat any of the other guy in the welterweight division. You could have. I could see a world, although it's very unlikely, MVP just knocking out Shavkat Rakhmonov. I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. And you're gonna probably say, okay, you can say the same thing about the lightweight division. No, in lightweight division, if you go to lightweight division, some of the things are so much. They're so like predictable, or I would say they're so kind of obvious, or there's like a complete domination. There's a trend of like a domination that we're seeing, especially with Islam Makhachev, the way he's dominating guys because he's finished so many guys. He's like, where are you going to finish the guy? Islam is just so much better than you everywhere. He's a much better striker than you. He's a much better jiu-jitsu guy than you. Like, I see Islam just running through the division, to be honest. There's just like a few matches, so one or two matches that I can see where you're like, okay, that might be a hard matchup. But the other guys, you're just like, Islam is just going to run through you. There's no way. Where are you going to beat him? You're not going to out-wrestle him. You're not going to out-jiu-jitsu him. You're not going to out-strike him. There's no way. You're not going to out-strength him. You're not going to outspeed him. There's no way you're going to beat him. But with Bilal Muhammad, and it's not a hate against Bilal Muhammad, I think it's just the welterweight division. It's the guys are just, if you're looking at the depth of the division, the guys at number 15, they have the potential of doing something great. And it's just, yeah, so I think welterweight division right now is the one with the most depth. Except Jeff Neal, I think he's not like he's been, maybe he had too many fights, or maybe he doesn't have the same in the tank. Like, at the moment, I don't see him as like a dangerous guy, but other than that, I think any guy in the welterweight division could be very dangerous. And the amount of the new guys, the amount of like the new talents, the prospects that you have Shavkat Rakhmonov fighting for the title for the first time. You have Jack Della. He hasn't fought for the title. He's undefeated. I see him as doing something. Sean Brady, he's only got one loss, I think, in the UFC. Like, he has a potential. Joaquin Buckley, okay, wasn't doing very good at middleweight, but welterweight, he's on a streak. He's beating everyone out. I can see him. Ian Gary's only got one loss against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I can see him doing great things. Then you have Carlos Pradas and Michael Morales. So I definitely see welterweight division has a lot of potential, and I want to see just good things coming out of the welterweight division. At the end, guys, remember the name Bilal Muhammad. A lot of praise to the guy. This guy does not back down from any challenge. He's willing to take anybody. He does not mind it, really. He does not mind it. They put the best guy in front of him, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he took it. He was taking any challenge before him. He was taking Leon Edwards. He took Sean Brady. He took Gilbert Burns. Completely dominated Gilbert Burns. He took Stephen Thompson. Completely dominated him. So Bilal Muhammad is ready to take any challenge. And I'm excited for the fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov.